Hell is a city filled with people just as bad as you are. Hi, today I want to talk to you about the shows Hazbin Hotel and Helluva Boss. And specifically, I want to talk about an aspect of the show I haven't seen anyone else touch on. Their understanding of hell. These shows take place in hell, i.e. the Christian afterlife of the damned. But you'll be forgiven for not picking up on this right away. There is a notable absence of traditional hellish imagery. Where are the rivers of blood? Where is the burning rain? Where is the whips and cattle prods? Okay, that is not what I meant at all. Hell, as understood by these shows, is a city. Admittedly, it is a city filled with vice, crime, cruelty, and worse, but in that way it is similar to many cities on Earth. Indeed, is canonically very similar to Los Angeles. So, where is the punishment? Isn't that the point of hell? This version of hell doesn't seem very hellish. But here's the thing. I think these shows get hell exactly right. If the Christian afterlife did really exist, it would look exactly like this. But in order to explain why, I need to talk to you a bit about the theology of St. Augustine. I think the idea of hell as a city comes from Augustine's most famous work, The City of God. In The City of God, Augustine argues that heaven is a sort of city, an ideal community where the blessed live forever with God. And he contrasts this against the city of the damned. Okay, admittedly, he is talking about heaven and earth, but it's not unreasonable to extend his metaphor downwards. However, in order to explain why, I need to talk to you a bit about Augustine's idea of sin, found in his other most famous work, The Confessions. In The Confessions, he, among other things, addresses the problem of why, in a world created and ruled by a just God, do good things happen to bad people? This is a different problem to why do bad things happen to good people. The latter is significantly more complicated, and honestly, I've never found an answer to it that I'm personally satisfied with. But right now I want to talk about the opposite. How, in a just world, do evil people end up with wealth, power, and success? Shouldn't God punish these people? The simple answer, which you may have heard before, is that, well, they might be well off now, but just you wait. When they die, they'll go to hell, and then they'll be tormented by demons and thrown into a really big oven. Then they'll see. But Augustine had a better solution to this. It is not a question of delayed consequences. Bad people are suffering the consequences of being bad as they live. The punishment for being a bad person is being a bad person. Sin is its own punishment. What goods they do seem to enjoy are tainted or outweighed by the suffering of their own horribleness. When you go to hell, you get to be a bad person in a city filled with people just as awful as you, forever. This is what Hazbin Hotel and Helluva Boss capture perfectly. You do not need rivers of blood or burning rain, when cannibals will just as easily eat off the sidewalk, and warlords will drop bombs from the sky for fun. God does not need to make hell itself into a punishment. Sinners will do it to themselves. Don't believe me? Don't believe this is actually a good enough punishment? Well, let me give you some examples and see if I can't convince you. Firstly, let's talk about Stolas and Blitz. By the end of Season 2, Stolas becomes one of the most tragic and sympathetic characters of Helluva Boss. But he didn't start out that way. When we first meet Stolas, he, in spite of being married with a kid, is effectively trying to blackmail the main character Blitz into having sex with him. In the pilot episode, we learn that in order to run his murder-revenge business, Blitz needs a magic grimoire, which he stole from Stolas, after having sex with him. Since then, Stolas has been repeatedly calling Blitz and, how shall we say, aggressively flirting with him.
Blitz, I'm so excited. I cannot wait to feel your slimy inside of my while you and I are jelly sandwiches.
Fun fact, this is the only part of the show where they censor foul language. In episode 1, Stolas and Blitz make a deal. Blitz can have the book for 29 days out of the month, provided that he spends 1 day a month having sex with Stolas. It is a fundamentally unequal relationship, and given Blitz's obvious reluctance after their first night together, he probably wouldn't have agreed to it if Stolas didn't hold power over him. But Blitz doesn't meaningfully have a choice here if he wants to keep earning a living. Within Dante's version of Hell, Stolas would be blown through a wind tunnel full of spikes for his acts of lust and infidelity. I'm not making this up, this is actually in here. Instead of that, Stolas' punishment is this.
Are you gonna run off with him? And leave me behind? Go away where I can't find you?
What?
Episode 2 opens with a flashback of Stolas waking up in the middle of the night to respond to his young daughter's nightmare. I remember when I first watched this, wondering whether or not Stolas was going to be a good or bad father, and not being sure which outcome would be worse. As I watched him sing his daughter a beautiful lullaby, and carefully rock her back to sleep, I realized that he was a good father, and this was so much worse than if he had just been a bad one, because it's going to make it so much harder when...
You slept with an imp in our fucking bed! It wasn't expected. I didn't have time to go to a motel.
As the episode goes on, Stolas tries to reconnect with his daughter, now a teenager. After failing spectacularly, she confronts him and asks him why. Why has he done this? Why does he fight with her mother every day? Why did he cheat on her? Why has he ruined their family? He doesn't have a good answer to any of this. This is hell. This is God's punishment for his infidelity. This conversation, and it is worse than any wind or whips or fire could ever be. As the series goes on, Stolas' marriage deteriorates, and in his loneliness he tries to develop a more meaningful relationship with Blitz. It doesn't work. Stolas even tries to make amends for the problematic way he began their relationship. At great difficulty to himself, he gives Blitz a way of continuing his business without relying on Stolas. A magic gem which does the same thing as the book, but which belongs only to him. Stolas frees Blitz from the power he had over him. This is morally the right thing to do, and it should warrant a reward, right? Indeed, Blitz is beginning to develop feelings for Stolas as well at this point. If Blitz were an emotionally intelligent, empathetic, and forgiving man, he could look past the problematic beginnings of their relationship and embrace what they could be. But this is hell. A city where everyone is just as awful as you. Blitz pushes Stolas away. For even though he craves intimacy, he doesn't believe himself worthy of it and sabotages all of his relationships. Both Stolas and Blitz end up alone and heartbroken. This is what it means to be a sinner for all eternity. To forever suffer the consequences of your own actions, and to be given no chance to redeem yourself. But the show Hazbin Hotel offers a perspective on this argument that Augustine doesn't consider. Let's talk about Angel Dust. Angel Dust is an adult film star in a particularly exploitative contract and is addicted to many unhealthy vices. He is also trying to become a better person, in the hopes of being redeemed into heaven. As such, he becomes the guest of the hotel owner Charlie, who promises to help him achieve just that. One problem, though. Charlie is a good person, and correspondingly has absolutely no idea of what Angel is going through or how to help him get through it. In episode 4, after one of Charlie's attempts to help him goes disastrously wrong, Angel has a fight with the hotel's bartender, Husk, and runs out into the night. Rather than going after him herself, Charlie sends Husk out to keep an eye on him. The two end up having a heart-to-heart, in which Angel confesses that he is afraid that he is beyond saving, that he is fundamentally a loser and a screw-up, and the only way out is down. Husk, for his part, reassures him that
you're correct.
Wait, what?
Husk tells him that yes, he is a loser and a screw-up and a
Coked up dick-sucking hoe?
but he is not alone. Husk, as it happens, is in a very similar situation. He is a drunk, a gambling addict, and also trapped in a very exploitative contract with nowhere to go but down. Husk sees Angel for both the bad and the good, and knows exactly how bad the bad is. And Husk still likes him, and still believes that he can be better. Together, they can be friends. Together, they can confess all the worst parts of themselves. Together, they can laugh about how stupid their exploitative bosses are, and together they can support each other. When Husk tells him not to give in to his vices, he knows exactly how hard it is for Angel to say no. But just being there to support each other in their darkest hours can help make each other better. Hell is a city full of people just as awful as you, but that is not necessarily a bad thing. To be fair to Augustine, in his theology, when a soul enters heaven or hell, they step outside of time. They become eternal, frozen in the state in which they entered, like an ant fossilized in amber. After you enter hell, you metaphysically no longer have the ability to grow or change for the better. But this doesn't make for a very compelling TV show, so I can understand why writers might choose to ignore this theological point. What I love about both these shows is they remind us that so long as we exist in time and space, we are capable of change. If damnation is just the consequence of our own actions, then we can stop forcing it upon ourselves whenever we like. It's not easy, To dig yourself out of a pit takes time and effort and pain. But if hell is a city full of people just as awful as we are, then we have the power to make it into a heaven.